I did. I wrote a blog post about this because to go back to the thing that the most posts that I see about signing with Apple, they don't address the back end side of things. And remember when we use that sign in with Apple button, you're going to get a unique identifier for your person, but you also get a JSON web token that has a bunch of other identifiers in it. And you can send that JSON web token to your server. And then using Vapor has a built-in helper that is called jwt.apple.verify. And it uses the identity token that's within that JSON web token and your own app's bundle identifier. That is sent to Apple's server to verify that JWT is valid, and as long as that comes back valid, you'll again get the app's the app user their unique identifier, that same sign in with Apple identifier that's tied to the iCloud account. So you can use that to pair with their account on your server, and so that way you're doing. It almost feels like a triple check. You're checking it on device when the sign in with Apple button is tapped. You're sending that JWT to your server, which is querying Apple's server and sending back on authentication, and everything is verified.
So, okay, so do you have? I guess first question. I have never used sign in with Apple as a developer. So, do you have to have that back end piece? Like, what if I've got a junky app or something?
Yeah, I was actually that was kind of a question I had for you.
For example,
why would you use this but not use the back end? Because unless you're storing that Apple identifier, I can't think of a way to use only the front end, only the client side of this sign-in, unless you were using it as like an authentication gate that just making sure your user can sign in. I honestly couldn't think of a scenario where you wouldn't use this on the back end.
Okay.
Maybe you can think of something. I honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Most sort of real apps have a backend anyway, so it doesn't probably matter. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think of this scenario where why is this? Because it does work. You could just implement the front end side on the client and stop there, because you'll still get back some information, but you would have to store that. I guess you could store that information in the user's keychain, but if they.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem great.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, I feel like that half of this is the server side. I don't see blog posts about it a lot for the server side.
All right, well, so give us a high level overview of the server side. What's involved there? So they sign in with Apple on their device. You get JSON web token that you send to your server. Your server verifies it with Apple. And is this on the first request, or is it every time you?
Well, every time you sign in, you're going to get every time you trigger a sign in, you're going to get a new JSON web token, because if I remember correctly, that is only valid for about 5 minutes. There are things that you do only get on the first request. The email address, for sure, is something you only get on the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you don't save it, and the first request being the first time that user hits the sign in with Apple and gets an authentication back. The second time they do it, and when would the second time be? That might be if they deleted your app and reinstalled it.
Oh, wow.
It will not send again, because Apple knows that user has tapped that button in that app before, and so it's not going to send back an email the next time. And that's for, security or whatever reason that Apple chose to do that. But on the server side, when you send that JSON web token, it comes back as an authenticated token. So as long as it doesn't throw, you're going to get a number of items back from that, such as do they use a private email? Do they have a real user status? And Apple does their own checks on their end to determine if it's an actual user.
Okay, so first time you go through this process, it gets sent to your server, you send it to Apple, they send you back, you get this sort of information about the user that you only get the one time. And then, now how is that different from, like, if I come back to the app later again, and I do the sign in, or because if I sign in with Apple, I don't, it doesn't tell me sign in with Apple every time I launch the app, right? It just does it sometimes. Why do I never have to show it again? Why don't I have to sign in every time, or?
Yeah, well, what I do, I create, after that sign in has happened, I create a bearer token on my server and send that back to the app.